Sup?
Sup?
How
Sup,
you
girl?
doing? Sup, girl?
Sup,
Hello,
Sup, bro?
everyone.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this episode of Hot Mess Moments.
That's
brought
wait,
to you by McDonald's. No, I'm
you
kidding.
sound a little bit like in Jackbox, the guy from the Trivia Murder Party.
Everyone says that when I use the deep voice,
like, all right, guys. Like,
Hello.
he always says, wake up.
That's what it is. Wake up.
Shout out to Jackbox, sponsor us.
Hi.
Welcome everyone to our 13th episode of Hot Mess Moments, unlucky or maybe lucky number 13. Because there's a lot that happens in these two episodes that we reviewed.
It's unlucky. It will go heavily into why.
Oh, for sure. It's very unlucky. But it's lucky because you're tuning in and you're listening and supporting and having a good ass time because we got a good ass episode in store for you today. But I'm going to be a good host, and we're going to introduce ourselves in the beginning.
Oh, what? What kind of normalcy is that?
We literally did not introduce ourselves in the last episode, and I didn't catch it until like we were done recording. I was like, we're good at this.
No, seriously.
So, hello, my name is Dylan Zahner, aka 8-Bit Dylan. I am a huge fan of Lost, but I've never seen The Nanny ever before. And nope.
That way, yes. Hi, I'm Beth Dixon, also known as Augusta Wind 11. I'm a massive fan of Fran Fine and The Nanny, but I'd never seen Lost before. And we're two best friends who decided to link arms and watch our favorite shows together.
And it's been a hot mess moment ever since. So welcome on in, everyone. This is going to be an interesting just juxtaposition of these episodes because it's kind of strange. The Nanny is very like feminist. The episode that we reviewed today, and I feel like the episode of Lost
makes you want to kill the woman. Yeah,
it's weird. It's kind of like the manipulation that is needed sometimes for women to get what they are owed or get what they need in the society. So it's just an interesting take. Yeah. I can't wait till we get into that Lost episode because I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming, and I knew you'd have thoughts.
All I have to say is that I wish that we had recorded just our reactions.
I need to do that. I need to start.
We need to just do this sometime, and we can zoom in and like Final Cut Pro or something on just us reacting to stuff because I know I was acting a fool watching Lost, and I did part of that performatively because I thought it was funny. But the other part of it, I was very much like enthralled with the episode. But we'll definitely get to that.
Yeah.
First, we're going to discuss the episode 14 of The Nanny.
So this is The Nanny, episode 14, Family Plumbing. Before we get into that, though, I do want to just hold a moment of silence for the background that Beth is currently in. She's upgraded in life, and she's moving to Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, Borinquen, en Borinquen fue donde yo nací, soy puertorriqueño.
Never mind, she's not moving there anymore.
I was just singing Las Plenas. For anybody who's Puerto Rican would know what I was just singing. I went to Puerto Rico for a tour with my choir in college, and we toured all around Puerto Rico. And they have these kind of like songs from the different areas of the island that they call Las Plenas, and it has like 4 different like almost like regional kind of like songs, and we closed every concert by singing them, and it was so amazing to see everybody in every city or town or just like little area get up and sing it with us, and they had their own little flags of their own area, not just the Puerto Rican flags. And the last, anybody who has seen In the Heights, by the way, the movie that of the musical that came out, they always talk about bandera, which is flag, and their flags are very, they say like, you know, que bonita bandera at the end of the Las Plenas song. So que bonita bandera, which means What a Beautiful Flag. And then you wave your flag while you're singing it. So we all would bring out flags out of our folders and wave them. And every time everybody went crazy and sang with us. And it was like a party at the end of all our concerts. It was a lot of fun.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But you are not actually moving to Puerto Rico.
No, unfortunately, I'm moving to New York City. It's like, I actually am really excited, but what like the idea of moving to Puerto Rico is like, oh man, I have so many places I could go and live and it would be great. And but no, I guess I'll move to Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
In New York.
There you go.
Concrete jungle where dreams are made.
I was like, this is about to become a musical episode, and I'm kind of here for it, especially with all the showgirls that were in the Nanny. Like,
oh, girl,
I'm here for it.
I saw some facial expressions about your ideas of how they were talking about some of them women too. So.
Oh my God, it was crazy. But this is going to be the last time Beth will be recording here. So
I actually think we just decided that's not the case. It'll be the second to last time.
Oh shit, you're right.
And we're gonna get one more, but everyone soak it in because I think by the time the next one comes along, I probably won't have things on walls. It will look I don't think I'm gonna have this table back here. I might not have light in my apartment. Seriously, I've sold pretty much all of my lamps and I need to give them to the people. I'll do a little tour quickly. This area over here, this table's going. I have 2 end tables that are going. I'm hoping to sell that TV console, my chair, my couch, everything. So.
Yeah, and then she is going to be like a caterpillar in a cocoon. You're going to be blossoming. You're going to get wings, and you're going to be in New York City. It's going to be fabulous, and I can't wait.
I'm so excited. And you're going to have the opportunity to come visit.
I know. So just know, y'all, in that week of July.
Like a month from now almost, essentially.
Yeah. I think it's around July 21st, like that week of July 21st. I'm going to be visiting Beth. So maybe we'll be able to film an episode in person together. That could be interesting.
That would be fun. We could share a mic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We could be, it could be we're doing those old school radio shows, but normally they have their own mics, but we could just be like, hi.
Yeah, really close. That'd be so cool.
Hi.
Stop.
How's it going?
How you doing? All right. So I can't wait. I also want to point out that you're getting an episode on Tuesday. You're welcome.
Tuesday.
Right. Yeah. So this, if you're listening to this now, you already got an episode on Tuesday. This is the normal episode on Thursday. So if you are tuning in now and you didn't listen to last week's episode, just know you're probably behind. So
you're just a couple days behind. We confused you guys.
Yeah.
But we caught up this week. So we're doing the 2 for the price of 1 this week. This is the second podcast of the week.
It's on clearance. It's on sale. Get our deals.
It's a BOGO. It's a buy one, get one.
Ooh,
it's nice.
Who loves a good deal?
Oh my God. Did I ever tell you my favorite? Okay. So there is this, I think I have said this to you, but I don't know if I've said it on the podcast.
Okay. Go on. Sorry. I was going to do a bit.
No, my favorite local commercial growing up was for this place called Affordable Furniture. That's literally just the name of it.
You told me this.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Only at Affordable Furniture. Ooh, yeah. That was literally the jingle. My brother and I thought we were in a fever dream until literally a month ago we looked at each other and went, do you remember Affordable Furniture? Because someone went, ooh, yeah, like that. And we were like, ah. So the fact that my brother, it was way over sexual for cheap furniture store in Utica, New York. It was so funny.
That's actually silly. I kind of want to shop there now.
I don't think it's open anymore. You know what? I'm going to look this up while we are talking. It is important stuff.
I need to know this. Before we get into this episode of The Nanny, also, I want to let everyone know, if you are listening for the very first time, please consider leaving us a review, or if you've been listening to us for a while, go check us out on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. It helps support us tremendously. And also go check out our YouTube channel, because we were just talking about Beth's background. If you want to see what Beth's background looks like, you can check out all of our episodes on YouTube, youtube.com/The hot mess moments. And make sure to follow us on Twitter.
It's true.
Hot moments.
It does not look like that store exists anymore. So sad.
Honestly, that is actually pretty sad. I think we need to reinvigorate the sexual furniture commercial industry, because clearly I think it would do better in the year 2020.
Yeah. I also think that, what we could embrace is a little bit of the SNL sketch, Sofa King. So there were like, everything here is Sofa King great. Like, well, come on down to Sofa King. Our prices are Sofa King cheap.
That's I've seen it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Sofa King comfortable.
Did you, speaking of SNL, well, in the same vein, recently Mad TV clips have been like resurging on Twitter recently. Like, people have been finding old clips, and there is one where they're like news reporters, and I'll send it to you. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, it's basically a bunch of people doing news reports, but everyone's name is like something sexual, and but it's like just off to where like you could say the name like in a non-sexual way, and they keep saying it in a sexual way, and the people who have the names are like, oh, that's not how you say my name. And it's like it's so good. I will find it and send it to you.
Send it.
So without further ado, because we've gotten distracted, that's on my fault. Let's get into episode 14 of The Nanny, The Family Plumbing.
She was there. That's how she became the nanny.
All right.
And let's do it.
Let's do it.
it.
No, I dare you. You get into it.
Mama, I've already been in it.
Oh, okay, girl. You better get into it.
I've got some controversial opinions on this one.
I don't know if they're going to be controversial. I feel like
I'm gonna start off with something that's going to be controversial. Are you ready?
Okay. Bracing myself.
Warming up. Maxwell is not hot in this episode. I consider that controversial. I do not like him with scruff and messy hair. His hair was so off this episode.
I hated his hair. I liked the scruff.
See, I didn't like the scruff because, well, maybe I would have liked the scruff if he had done his hair better. But something about the scruff was like, I could tell he doesn't have a full beard. And so it was like this weird, like patchy kind of, and I was just like, just shave.
Also, I don't know why you not being able to shower means you can't wear your suit that you like to wear.
Right.
They just made him try to look as dumpy as possible. They gave him like a way too big cardigan for him to wear. Like, they went down to Macy's and they said, all right, this is going to be grandpa's sweater. Let's put it on Maxwell. Like, no. Like, first of all, I'm going to say something.
Oh, here we go.
That I know that I normally don't do outfit of the episode. I would go ahead and say no outfit of the episode this time.
I literally wrote that. I was like, not a single. I did.
That's not true, actually.
I did pick one, but for the most part, not a single outfit of the episode that shocked me.
Can I say what I think that episode? It should have been Tiffany's outfit.
Oh, I agree with this actually. Tiffany was kind of serving.
She was serving 90s teen, like with an attitude, and I was here for it. But like clearly mini Fran, but like make it 90s chic, like that a teenager would wear. Like it's like what we want to see from Maggie kind of thing,
I thought, I actually agree with you. Tiffany is great. I'll tell you what my actual outfit of the episode was, though, once we get to that section of the episode. But overall, Family Plumbing, I will have to say you did hype this one up. So I did have a lot of high expectations. This was absolutely not a bad episode. No. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was silly. I thought it aged well for the material that's in the episode. But I'm still going to give it an 8 out of 10. Because
it's actually higher than I would have given it, and I'm the one who hyped it up.
Yeah, I was almost going to say 7 out of 10.
That's what I was going to give it.
So there's like two main reasons why I can't rate this one super high. One, I feel like Niles is super out of character here. Like the things they do for Niles' character is very strange. He's always been kind of like silly and quirky. And in this one, he's just a hornball. And it's really weird. It's like kind of off-putting to me.
It's like they're still experimenting with what to do with his character at this point. Do we make him a hornball? Do we make him gay? Do we make him bi? Do we make him like a stagnant, just here's where they put in a line and then like what do we do with him? Like you can tell that he's like the character that they're like, we like him, but this is Fran Drescher's show, so we always got to make sure he's supporting Fran Drescher. So I think that's what the biggest worry with him is at this point, like, what do we do with him? Let's make him a horn dog. Let's see if it works this episode.
Yeah, it was a bit strange. I didn't hate it. But it went on for a hair too long. I was like, all right, we get it. He's horny. He's like, well, let me go dust something outside. I'm like, oh my God, we move on from this?
This episode, you remember when I said men ain't shit for Lost like 2 episodes ago?
Men ain't shit for the nanny.
Correct, bitch. Correct.
That's definitely. And then I think my other point is that compared to last week's episode where the funny moments literally had me guffawing and like chuckling like crazy, there was only like 1 or 2 that really made me go like, like freak out. The rest were like, okay, this is funny, but I'm not going to like laugh my ass off. So yeah, I think in that regard, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. But let's get into this. Let's get into this episode. So the family obviously lives in like an older New York mansion of sorts. And the plumbing in this place must be really bad because it's not just like one sink. It's like the entire building's plumbing is completely off. So,
which is what I love is like, as if his like little wrench was just going to fix it. Clearly, if it's that extensive of a plumbing issue, we're talking like walls have to be broken into kind of situation, right? Yeah. And he's just like under the kitchen sink at one point, and then another point you see him packing up his tools in the upstairs bathroom, and you're like, okay, but like, what did you do to fix all the water with just your like little wrench?
It's so silly. I love
Don't get it.
But of one thing that I found really funny is and I appreciated this, they take this moment of them not being able to shower or get ready in the morning to highlight the development of Maggie's character in this, because Maggie, if you go back to episode 1 or 2, when they're sitting in the dining room, she doesn't really give a shit about how she looks and kind of like is very antisocial. And in this moment when she can't shower, you can still tell that she's attempted to put herself together and is like concerned about her looks because she's getting older and Fran has had this influence on her as a character. So I really appreciated like what they did there, because it's kind of like a weird, like it's not weird, but it's like a simple line that she says. She's like looking at her plate like, oh, I can't go out like this. They didn't need to include that, but they did because it made sense for where her character is in that moment. And this is where Fran comes in looking fine as hell, as always, because of all those beautiful moist towelettes. Have you ever had to wash yourself with moist towelettes?
I can honestly say no. I've used a washcloth and like that kind of thing just to like with a little bit of water, but clearly that wasn't an option. I've never done that. I've never even used dry shampoo.
Oh, okay.
Which I know a lot of people have. I've never even grabbed it. I don't even know like what it would look like in a store or whatever. But
yeah, I can fully admit that I have, because balls be sweaty, yo. And
oh yeah, well, okay. If you're just talking about one area, sure.
I washed my whole area. I washed my whole body.
Washed my whole area.
I washed my whole area. I mean, I did wash my whole area, but
your whole area or your whole area?
My whole area. So, basically, what happened is I had come home from the gym. This is actually super recent too. So, like, I can't even say like this was
this last night.
It was literally 10 minutes before I got it. I'm kidding. No,
you were like, wow, what a timely episode.
This happened about a month or 2 ago. So I had come home from the gym and Nigel was showering or something like that. He had been like in the shower where I couldn't take a shower. I could only take a bath. And I was like, well, I'm not about to take a bath. And so I just didn't shower. I had forgotten to shower because I needed to go to work. So it was like a full work day. And then I need to stream in like 30, 40 minutes. And I'm like, I could hop in the shower, but it seems like a lot of work. And I kind of want to make food. So I go into the bathroom and I see these moist towelettes. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to clean off the T-zone, you know? Let's get the armpits clean. Let's clean our balls, clean our ass, because we're not gross straight boys. And let's wash our face. Well, then
Please tell me
what?
There were different towelettes.
Absolutely. I went through like
you weren't like, and then like wiped it on your face.
No, I went through like 6 or 7. So
good.
That's what I noticed.
I just don't want people getting any ideas out there.
I actually ate the boys' towelettes afterward because I was hungry because I didn't have time for the food.
Okay, well, guys, anyway, welcome back and goodbye.
So I saw how many moist towelettes were actually in this thing, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wash my whole body because I've never done this before. So I gave myself a full wash down with moist towelettes. Do not recommend putting a moist towelette on your butthole. Don't do it.
It's a burn.
Yeah, there's specific wipes for that.
Sure are. Yeah.
And that's the life lesson that I'm teaching you today.
Also, life lesson. Buy the specific moist towelettes that are just essentially water and maybe with some kind of lubricant on it for when you have to prepare for a colonoscopy. Because
I just go in dry. Look at your face.
Not going to work for you.
No, it won't.
Actually, you know what? You have a bidet, so I feel like it's going to be much better if you ever need a colonoscopy. If y'all have bidet, you know what? I'm going to have to get a bidet. See, hashtag Crohn's. I have to have a colonoscopy done every 2 years because I'm at a huge risk for having colon cancer. And so preparing for a colonoscopy sucks, but it's if you wipe too much, it's a lot going on down there. So just hot tips here at Hot Mess Moments.
We love that. Honestly, you all come here for the hard-hitting facts, and that's just what you're going to get from us.
We go under the guise that we're going to talk about, you know, the nanny and Lost, but really we're here to talk about wiping balls and assholes with my moist towelettes. Bidets.
Sponsor me.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, if Polar Seltzer won't sponsor me, then I'll take a
moist towelette.
A moist Cottonelle. Come on through, baby.
Come on, I want to be a part of the Cottonelle brand family. Let me on in.
I'm just saying, could you imagine if the two of us Hot Mess Moments now brought to you by Cottonelle.
We may talk shit, but we know how to clean up.
We should be illegal.
So stupid.
I'm dead.
Oh my gosh. Cottonelle, if you're listening.
Cottonelle, if you're listening, tune off.
Run for the hills. Oh my God. Oh, speaking of clean, fun entertainment, this episode of The Nanny, which totally was not, I think this is probably the least family-friendly episode that we've had, just because it's very overtly about sex, besides the modeling one.
I was just going to say, I think the modeling one had more overt jokes that were nursey, but this one, the concept is probably not as family-friendly.
So speaking of the concept, basically what's happening here is Cousin Irving is a relative of Fran who, because it's the weekend, is the only person available that can come and fix the plumbing. And so
all of New York City.
All of New York, apparently.
The largest city in the United States.
Yeah, and
only plumber.
And Maxwell, with probably millions of dollars, can't like overnight someone or get someone there immediately.
Correct.
But Cousin Irving, it is. So Maxwell is like, fine, we'll hire your cousin to come out here. So one really interesting story beat. What?
This is a green. Do I have a green screen on?
What?
Do you see? This is a green can. Do you see the color of it?
Yeah. Okay. For those that don't know, Beth did have a green for this entire time. Have you always had a green screen filter?
Yes, including when I recorded for Drag Race earlier.
You better work.
No wonder. I felt like my color was a little faded. Now I understand why. Okay, continue. I'm sorry. For those that watched on the video version, you're welcome. I'm in better color now.
It's beautiful. I love it. So one thing that I thought was really interesting that they kind of like gloss over that I think is further development of Maggie's character. This may not have been a Maggie-centric episode. I feel like this was a Maggie-centric episode.
Okay.
Because she is talking to Maxwell, her father, and she mentions old and alone like Fran, which I thought was so out of character for Maggie to throw Fran under the bus. And Fran catches onto this and kind of puts Maggie in her place. But I'm like, are we starting to go down that rabbit hole of where Pandora's box has been opened, Maggie's growing up, and now we're starting to see like the city life side of Maggie. And now eventually we're going to get an episode to where she takes it too far and Fran's going to be like, hold your horses, Missy. We're bringing you back to the stable because she needs to kind of get it reined in.
I will say your face when she made that comment was, oh!
And I was like,
you had an animated response.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, this is like so out of character for Maggie, but it makes sense. So it's not like Niles, where I feel like this is so out of character for Niles. For Maggie, this is out of character, but it makes sense for like
with her growth.
With her growth. It makes no sense for Niles to be this horny. Like, I'm like, chill.
Excuse me.
You just got laid like by this old woman, like not even however long ago.
Doesn't that kind of mean maybe he's like, he had a hit of it and now he wants a little bit more kind of thing? Maybe it fits.
Daddy Niles. I mean, that age difference.
I mean, to be fair, he might be the age difference to the young chorus girls.
What?
He's now the, like, you know, like there was that age difference between him and Nanny Mueller.
Yeah.
So maybe he gets to play the older one now to the chorus girls that were auditioning.
That's the fan fiction I do not need.
Nobody write that.
Nobody write that. I will find your account and I will report it. So basically what's happening in this episode is Maggie gets invited to a party. Again, another character growth that we're seeing because Maggie at the beginning of the season would never have been invited to any parties. So clearly Fran's guidance is winning her social points within her school. And she is developing herself as a kind of social butterfly, which is some character growth that we've seen. And so she gets invited to this party that Fran is very quick to point out is a makeout party. Have you ever gone to a makeout party?
No.
I've never even heard of this.
So here's the thing. There's so many different kinds of parties that they talk about in this show, in like every 90s sitcom.
Yeah.
I never saw them in the early 2000s when I was...
13 going on 30 had a makeout party in it. I remember that, but that's...
So maybe it was a thing in the 80s and 90s. And
maybe?
I always wondered if it was just because I went to a small school and like it was very possible that if you went to a party and didn't know who you were making out with, you could have been making out with your cousin. Like not me, because I was the only person.
Okay.
Thank you. I moved to said town, but said town like had everybody was related to each other.
And that's thematic for our episode of Lost later. We'll get to it.
I literally blocked that out of my mind, and we had just watched it an hour and a half ago.
So, makeout party, and obviously Maxwell not down for this. Not down.
No.
Does not want Maggie to go to this party, which makes sense. I mean, if I had a 14-year-old daughter, I would not want her to go to a party where
That the whole point is that they're supposed to be kissing. Because here's the thing. I actually, do you kind of agree with Maxwell's decision in this episode?
Yes. Okay. So this is like a huge thing. I got what they were trying to say about his double standards for men and women. But like Brighton getting a kiss inside of the house with a girl while there's adults around is very different than Maggie, who's 14, going to a party full of people the same age as her
that are going to peer pressure each other into kissing. Where coercion and consent don't go hand in hand together. And I would agree to a certain extent. I would also say that I would have been reprimanding Brighton for hiding. Like I actually don't have an issue with teens and preteens or whatever kissing. I don't think that's a big deal at all. What I do think is a big deal is teaching teenagers and preteens that kissing is to be ashamed of, and that it automatically means that you're going to do something sexual with somebody. Because I was somebody who I never, even though I understood like sex ed in theory, I never understood that like, and that can like, they don't teach about consent. And so I thought that if you French kiss somebody, if you made out with somebody, that was basically you giving your free body to them. And that's why I like had such an aversion to kissing people, even like my boyfriends in high school, because I didn't want to go any further than that. And I felt like if I kiss them, well, that means that they can do whatever they want to me. And so like, I think a lot of that narrative comes from this idea that, oh, well, you shouldn't be kissing anybody. No. What you shouldn't be doing is anything that you're not comfortable with. And if you and the other person are interested in kissing, that's fine. But you need to have serious conversations about what else there is besides kissing. And like, that's the conversation you should be having, in addition to like consent. And if you don't feel comfortable, these are the things you need to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, see, here at Hot Mess Moments, we are all for inclusive sexual education.
Correct.
Across the board. So, yeah, get into it. Get into sex ed. Teach your kids about sex at an early age. Use proper biological terminology. And yeah.
And you know what? If you have the opportunity to teach them about slang of talking about things too, I think that's really important as well, because I will 100% tell you, I was the 7th grader on AIM chat rooms and I learned so much that they would be like, there would be like these weird older guys, I'm assuming, that were like, do you masturbate? And I was like, what does masturbate mean? Like, I had no idea. Like, and I was like, yes.
Like, absolutely. I'm all.
Yeah, I do all of that. Yeah,
I'm a professional at it.
But it but seriously, if you don't teach your kids, somebody else is. And you don't know who those somebody else people are. And they could be creepers. They could be people who, it's Dylan. It's Dylan. Teach your damn kids.
No, I was pointing at myself because I was like, I was the kid that got taught from other things. And the thing that taught me was Scary Movie.
So, I mean, so we're not that different after all.
And that's why I think aliens pee from their fingers.
Yeah. Prove that they don't. What would you do, as a side note, when they come out, when the government releases, the Pentagon says, yes, aliens 100% a thing. And what we found out is that they piss from their fingers. What would you fucking do? I
would be like, let's start a prayer circle for the writers of Scary Movie. They're prophets.
Okay. That's number one. What if number two, what if how they say hello is they come out from behind you and choke you?
Honestly, I would have a new religion.
And then number three, if how they say goodbye is that they kick you in the nuts. How do you say goodbye?
If you are 13 episodes into this series and you don't know that Beth and I are huge fans of Scary Movie, we are sorry.
Especially 3.
Especially Scary Movie 3. But the series in general, like, if you don't know it, you're going to get a lot of quotes.
Yeah, so many references. But yeah, going back to like the main issue though here, I think that you know, us in 2021 have a very different lens of like what sex education is, what could potentially be harmful. And I mean, honestly, this double standard is very real still nowadays when it comes to like girls and guys. Oftentimes it's men, especially fathers, saying, I need to protect my girl from boys, rather than giving her the tools to better protect herself and understand what to do. So that argument, 100% agree with Fran. I don't think, however, the way to do that is just go off to a makeout party. If it had just been a party where they weren't paired off or anything like that, I wouldn't have had an issue.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like a 10 o'clock curfew is perfect for a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Why was that weird at the end of the episode?
I actually missed that.
She goes, Maxwell goes, oh, you're right. How annoying. All right. She can go to the party, but she has to be back by 10. And Fran goes, 10 is, and you like to argue it. And she goes, oh, wonderful time for that. Like, kind of backs off. But I'm just kind of like, 10 o'clock? That's like a perfect curfew for like a 14-year-old. Now, if we're talking 17, 18, no. Like, obviously you can, well, 18 is a little different, but like 17, 16, like, yeah, you can increase that by an hour or so. But like, I also don't know, is this a school night? I'm hoping not. No, it's not. It's a Saturday. It's a Saturday.
It's a
That's
Saturday,
the whole fucking point.
You dumb bitch. No, just kidding. Love ya. I'm just going to go quickly through like the rest of the plot. So basically, the cousin Irving shows up, brings Tiffany, I forgot the actress's name from Glow.
Something Jackie.
Ton?
T-O-H-N, I think, something like that.
Love you, I'm your biggest fan, Jackie.
Yeah, clearly, because he knows your name for sure.
No, but seriously, if you've never seen Glow, Jackie's in this, child actress legend. So she's honestly, I'm going to say it now, MVP of the episode. Absolutely.
100%. 100% agree.
She's so good. Like, just Tiffany show up again? I doubt it.
Do you really want me to answer?
Yes.
No, but she shows up again.
Okay. That's good.
She'll play another character, but Tiffany won't show up.
Okay, I'm down with that. I thought she was great. I was like, this is amazing. Love it. And
also, how old do you think she was in this episode? Because I looked it up.
Actress?
Yeah.
I want to guess that she is 10 to 12.
She was 13.
Okay. And the only reason I say that is because I have seen her in Glow, so I can kind of guesstimate what her age is.
So she was 13, and I believe Benjamin Salisbury, who plays Brighton, was 10.
Okay, that's not that weird.
Yeah, no. I'm just putting it out there that, like, I remember watching this and being like, she looks older than him.
No, she definitely does.
But that, if you put it in that perspective, that's like an 8th grader kissing a 5th grader. That's weird to me.
That is a bit weird. I mean, girls be doing the damn thing.
Remember when we talked about last episode that, you know, the industry is all about making you do
those girls in Flushing, there's just something in the water.
Yeah. Well, before he came along, Irving came along, they didn't call it Flushing.
That was such a stupid joke. I was like, oh my God, it's such a dad joke. So
happy Father's Day.
One joke that I caught, it wasn't as funny as I thought it was, but I thought it was really clever, was they describe one of the showgirls and it sounds exactly like Fran. And I think Cece jumps in and is like, she's a tramp. Or like,
no, that's what Fran said it.
Oh, Fran said it. That's right. I couldn't remember who said it.
Fran grabs the resume and goes, tramp, like this. Like, and she's like judging it. And I'm like, that literally is you.
It's you. It's so funny.
That's a recurring theme. You'll see a lot of that throughout the series.
I loved it.
Where she'll be like, oh, those like girls in their tight mini skirts prancing about in their high heels and big hair, makeup. Ugh, tramps. And you're like, okay.
Like Fran.
That's the point. It walks right forward.
I love it.
The best joke of that scene, though, is Cece says, or were you going to get to this? Okay, sorry.
No, go. Explain. You can explain the joke better, but yes, there is another funny scene.
The funnier joke out of that scene is when Fran and Cece are calling out the men for like drooling over these choir girls that are chorus girls that are coming in and like, you know, they're 90s leotards, which are like really high cut in the front. Those were a thing.
I'm gonna say right now, outfit of the episode, the girl who does the splits.
Okay. You know, I'm here for that too. I'm 100% here for that.
She worked that fucking audition, and you know what? I'm proud she got the part.
You know what? It gave me Eddie. Is it Eddie Price, who does that "Call on Me" episode or music video from like the early 2000s, where they're all in those leotards, super high cut in their front. They're like. You've never seen that?
I have no idea.
Oh, that's an education. That's an education. That is an education. You better watch it.
That's a sex education.
You know what? You're gonna look at that and be like, I find men and women attractive. Holy shit. Anyway, but the whole point was, so they're yelling at we're not yelling, but they're kind of like teasing the guys for like staring at these girls open mouths, and. Fran looks over at Cece and Cece goes, "Don't blame me. I wanted to do 12 Angry Men," as in the show, 12 Angry Men.
Okay.
And Niles comes up and goes, yes, but they didn't want to do you.
See, I thought that was great. I thought that was so
I love that.
quippy. But I saw the punchline well before the I was just like, here comes Niles. He's going to do it. He's going to do it. Let's go, Niles. Like, I was like,
yeah.
I
don't know why I did that. Sorry about that.
That was creepy.
I was taken over by the Tasmanian devil for a split second.
I was fully about to move on, but it was in the back of my mind. I was like, what the fuck is happening over there, Beth?
I'm so tired.
So... basically then Brighton and Tiffany kiss. They talk about this double standard. Some main things I want to talk about though. Shout out to Brighton and Tiffany, the kid actors, actually kissing on camera. That's tough to get kid actors to kiss on camera.
It's tough to get high school actors in a play to kiss properly.
Yeah. So
let alone on camera.
And they were silly about it. You could tell they were having fun. You could tell
they were trying not to laugh. That was the best part. Is they kept like wiping their mouths and like, you know.
It was so silly.
Especially Brighton.
Yeah, it was so adorable. And I also want to talk about that really funny scene where in the kitchen, Fran is trying to tell Maxwell of the kissing that happens, and Gracie is so great there where she like basically spills the beans to Maxwell, and she's like,
all three of these kids just shat on Fran this whole episode.
They really did.
They was like traitors, man.
These kids aren't loyal at all.
These kids ain't loyal.
I loved it. I just thought it was so funny, and I thought Gracie was so silly this episode. She's like, they're life size Barbies, and she was so sweet this episode. She was like the symbol of innocence in like a sea of not a lot of innocence in this episode, which I thought was adorable.
But it was also funny, fully me watching you look at Gracie, look up at all these like women wearing like the high-waisted leotards and everything. And she's going like, wow, and that kind of thing. And you're looking, you're like, ugh.
Yeah,
I'm like you're like totally grossed out.
I was like, don't. I was like, oh God, she's going to make like a... I was also doing that because I believe in the background, Niles is like gawking at the women. And so I was also like, Niles, because I want to call out, this episode just starts off fucking weird with Niles. So he takes the showgirl applications and doesn't give them to Maxwell in time because it's like hinted at that he was jerking off to the showgirl applications. Yeah. And then he like creepily watches the women in the living room. And then
in the office when they're
in the office, like, and he's making like gross comments about it too. Like,
who produced this one? Harvey Weinstein.
I mean, to be fair, I think the women were okay with it. They seemed
fine. You're right. Les Moonves? That actually makes a lot of sense.
There you go.
He was the head of CBS at the time still.
It actually makes complete sense. But these women are gorgeous.
Gorge.
They're slaying it. I'm curious what musical that they were producing that needs showgirls that...
Chorus line, probably.
I'm down for it. I want to see it.
I'm just gonna. What I love the most is that it makes no feasible sense that every week there's a new play that Maxwell is putting up. I'm like, it makes no sense for Broadway for such a small production team to be doing these huge productions.
And the auditions always take place in the house.
Yes. Yep.
It's so silly. I love it.
So I mean, some actually will take place in like weird intimate settings and such. What I'm hoping is that we're moving away from that with such things like Harvey Weinstein and such, because I think that there's a certain level of like hush hush closed door that goes along with such a thing. Even if it is completely innocent, you have to imagine you're like, I'm going to the producer's house to audition for something that's going to change my life. Like, that in itself has a weird undertone to it.
Yeah, agreed completely. Like it's just gross. We talked about a lot of this in the last episode as well.
It's true.
So if you have not watched that one, go watch it. We have a very interesting conversation about the grossness within the entertainment industry and a lot of sex that happens behind the scenes, a lot of sexual favors and trading. It's gross. But at the end of this episode, Fran walks in on Maxwell naked. And I like to think that in my head, because this is filmed in front of a live audience, he's wearing just a Speedo. I know he wasn't, but I like to think he was.
You know what I'm just realizing?
What?
There is bloopers of this episode that aren't the ones that we watched. And one of them is her pulling back the curtain on him. And he's just wearing like white boxers.
Oh, interesting.
You know what? I'm going to try to find them. I'll tweet them out.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll tweet them out.
Yeah, I'm down for that. We also need to find at the time of this filming, children's photos of ourselves to tweet.
Well,
out.
I was going to wait until after the podcast gets released to post.
Ah, smart.
It would be weird to be like, here's model Beth without any context.
So for those who don't know, we are absolutely double filming. So makes sense why that hasn't come out yet. But yeah, she sees Maxwell naked and makes a lot of references that he has a huge penis and that he's got these bulging muscles, which I'm like, where? But I mean, he's not unattractive. Like I still think he's very cute. But
you also, the one thing I have to say about Charles Shaughnessy in these scenes is like, you can tell that he doesn't know how to play embarrassed that well.
Yes.
Because it was very like, ah!
Yeah. I feel like they were cracking. I feel like there were so many takes.
I think there were, because I know that there were definitely something. I'm going to look now because I'm like obsessed with this idea. But go on, continue.
Yes. So that's basically the entire episode. And then there's a conversation, and we kind of already touched about this, about how there's this like double standard of how Maxwell treats his children, and specifically men and women. Mm-hmm. And I do think this is like a good conversation piece, especially for the 90s and like stuff that was happening within the industry. But it doesn't make a lot of sense for like, because I'm on Maxwell's side for a lot of it because of Maggie's just so young.
Yeah.
But at the very, very end, Brighton gets his heart broken because Tiffany's like, that was fun. See ya.
Deuces. I said deuces instead of deuces, but whatever.
The thought still counts. Yeah. And this is where Maxwell kind of has like a heart-to-heart with Brighton about women, which makes me think he didn't actually learn the lesson at the end of the episode. Because
which one?
Maxwell, because he has like a full conversation about how women are. And I'm like, okay, I mean, it's not so much a double standard, but he's like, they're vapid and they're mean and they'll like tear your heart out. And then he makes a reference to Fran, and it's like he's kind
walking in on him. Yeah,
he's clearly talking about Fran. But I thought it was like an all right episode. Overall.
Yeah. Also, as much as I said the parents should like have very open conversations with their children about like consent and sex and like all that kind of stuff, a weird thing to have a kid go, did I go to first base, and have the parent be like, yeah? Like, to me, that was weird. I don't know if I would ever be like, hey, mom, this is what I did with a boy or a girl or whatever. Did I go to first base? Which, you know what? I'm sure those conversations do happen. But I feel like that's not what I would ask my parents.
Yeah, it was silly, yeah.
Did I go to first base? I would be asking my friends, is that first base? I would not be asking my parents. Could you imagine? Did I go to second base, Mom?
Hey, Mom, I let him put it in my butt. Is that third base?
Is that a home run?
Yeah.
How many RBIs did I get with that? Oh
my God.
Ribbies.
I fucking hate everything about that. I'm just imagining like me telling my mom that now, and it'd be so awkward.
I know, that's my point.
I don't want to think about it. Okay, I'm getting it out of my head. So overall, MVP of this episode for me, hands down, Tiffany. Tiffany's an amazing character. LVP, so easy. Niles, he was so gross this episode.
I totally agree.
And outfit of the episode goes to that showgirl who did the audition that did the splits. I was like, work. This outfit's cute, and I'm glad she got the part. It's what she deserves.
I still think that
Tiffany
had the best outfit. She had like that black. It wasn't a mini skirt on a 13-year-old. It was slightly shorter than a mini skirt, though.
Yeah.
With like the Converse sneakers. Like I just felt like it was a cool serve. But
it was really cute. I also really loved her hair. Like I was like, she did not wake up to do that hair. She went to a salon.
She friggin' did it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So next week's episode is called Deep Throat.
Oh, Maxwell, I'm ready. I'm just saying, I'm gonna earn my allowance next week.
I think it's easy to say that next week's episode is.
Oh.
I think it looks like a Fran-centered episode, but I think it's a Maxwell-centered episode.
Oh, and it's called Deep Throat. Mm-hmm. I'm ready. Okay, consider me back on the horny for Maxwell train.
Now that he'll shave and have his hair fine, you know.
Yeah, I like my Maxwell prim and proper. Oh. I don't get it elsewhere. So I'll take it when I can get it. A prim and proper British man.
Love it.
So let's get into, because this is a beefy episode for Lost. Let's cover Lost. Episode 13, Hearts and Minds.
Previously on Lost.
Okay, so this episode had a lot happening. And I'm going to start off by saying I think this episode is a solid 8 out of 10 for me as well.
Yeah.
It's a solid episode. There's a lot happening. I like that there's action. I like that we're getting a little bit of backstory. It would have been a 10 out of 10 if Shannon had really died.
You and everyone else that watched this, I think, also was thinking the same thing. Shannon was not a fan favorite character. I will say that.
I'm going to say straight off the bat that the LVP is Shannon. Like, I'm just straight out the bat. It's obvious. Okay.
There's no redeeming quality for her.
There's literally none. Like, I mean, this is what the backstories are supposed to do, is like humanize people and go, you know what, as awful as she is on the island, look at this tragic backstory. And then you're supposed to go, now I kind of see where she's coming from. Except no, in this tragic backstory, the tragedy is that Boone didn't just straight up kill her and her boyfriend. Like, that's the tragedy of the situation.
Yeah. Like, she is the definition of someone who just keeps getting away with it. And I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. You know what? Privilege. That's what it is.
Honestly.
She's an attractive woman that has a lot of privilege when it comes to how people who care about her treat her. And it is abused on her half. Like, it's gross.
100%.
She's a disgusting character. The only redeeming thing that we've gotten from Shannon all season long is that she is dealing with the fact that she feels useless.
I don't give a shit. She is useless. She is useless. And guess what? Oh my God. She got some fucking French lyrics. Who gives a fucking shit? I don't care. I don't care. And also, Saeed, you are so much better than this. I swear to God. I swear to God, Saeed, if you go down that path, I will fucking hate you for the rest of the stuff. Like that to me is a dead character move right there.
He's horny.
I think what makes sense is just to briefly talk about the flashbacks and then talk about what's happening in the present, because they don't intertwine that much.
They really don't. Yeah.
So basically what we find out in the flashback is that Boone is playing tennis with someone who looks exactly
on purpose.
like Shannon. And I will also say this. You know what? I'm happy Shannon's character in Twilight dies.
Damn.
I'm happy she fucking died. She brought it upon herself in that one too. So good. Oh man. I do want to say, if Shannon ever does die in this series, we're having a party on Hot Mess Moments. Like I'll blow up some balloons. I'll put some streamers up.
Party. Okay, I can't wait.
I'm gonna put a little grave on the ground. You'll see me dance on it. It's gonna be a whole extra thing that's gonna make you think much less of me, and I'm not gonna care. And it's gonna be great.
Honestly, I'll be right there with you.
So basically what we see is that Boone is finishing up some kind of tennis game with basically his stepsister lookalike that he's clearly dating or, on a date with or something. And he gets this manic call from Shannon where it sounds like she's in trouble, potentially like in some kind of like abuse situation. So he asks where she is and she says, I'm in Sydney. And so he flies to Sydney, Australia. He shows up at the home. And she says, this is actually really not a good time. I've got to go to dinner with my boyfriend, and kind of gives him that look like, you've got to keep it cool here or else he's going to hurt me. He might hurt you too, kind of thing. And so Boone, catches the drift, goes to the police station. The police can't do anything because there's like no evidence of anything, which this still continues to be such an issue in the US too, where like people would be like, well, like I'm seeing signs of control or abuse or manipulation. And I don't think that I think that you need to check in on this couple or whatever. And they won't do it, or they'll get there too late. I can't tell you. I had one time where there was obvious domestic violence happening in an apartment next to mine one time, not here, in a previous apartment. And, where they'd been screaming at each other for over an hour. I mean, like straight up screaming at each other. I don't even know how you have that kind of capacity. And then I heard her yell, well, why don't you effing hit me? And then I heard a smack. And I was like, called the cops immediately. Yeah. It was nighttime. So I like turned off all the lights in my apartment and everything. And like, it took them 2 hours. Took them 2 hours to show up.
God.
And when they showed up, nothing else happened. And I just was like, what do we need to do in this country to take domestic violence at a police or law level, like seriously? But anyway,
for sure. Yeah.
So like that, I was like, really.
Well, here's why. Because Shannon's a bitch. And that's the only reason.
Yup. So what we find out is that, he tries to pay off her boyfriend. Clearly their mother has a lot of money.
One thing I do want to talk about, Sawyer shows up in the police station that Boone is in. Real quick, thoughts, theories, why is Sawyer in that police station?
Okay, so I'm trying to remember. We don't see him.
The only backstory we've had of Sawyer so far is that he's a con man.
Right. And the couple that he was trying to swindle the money out of was American. So I don't think they were in Australia. So we haven't seen why Sawyer was in Australia and that kind of thing. So my thoughts here are that maybe Sawyer got caught doing some other kind of con thing in Australia. Or got pinned for something that, like, remember that boss of his, like, what got all upset, and maybe he did something to pin something on him in Australia. I don't know, something where he'd be away from home. So that's kind of my thought process there. I'm sure that we'll see a flashback where we'll get to see his side 100%. Of things, because we saw the same thing with like Jack and then Jen and Son in the airport. So so I'm interested in watching that, but after they leave, Boone basically bribes Shannon's boyfriend and says, I'll give you $25,000 American if you will let her like break up with her and go from there. And the guy says 50,000, and then he writes a check. And then you see him go to the house to go pick up Shannon, and she's like, I'm not coming. And then he walks in, and the boyfriend does, and he said, you still don't get it either. And then it comes out that she's been swindling and pretending to be in all of these situations in order to make the money that she's deserved, because when her father died, she felt like her stepmother, which was Boone's mother, took all this money from her, what should have been hers. And it's been like her way to get her inheritance, essentially, which is really fucking evil, because if the issue is your mother, stop manipulating your brother. That's ridiculous. Even though they're step siblings, so there's no blood relation kind of thing. Even with that said, that there's no blood relation, Shannon shows up at Boone's apartment after he's been kicked the snot out of him, like by her boyfriend. And she seduces him and lets him know, like, oh, I know that you've had a crush on me for a long time. She starts like sucking on his ear. They start making out, and then it's implied that they probably had sex or something like that. And then afterwards, she's just like, when we go back to LA, you could tell your mom that, it was the same old deal, that you came to save me, but we have to go back to the way things were. As if like you didn't just fucking sleep with your stepbrother and completely manipulate him. And he said like, oh, so we always have to do what you say or do or whatever. And then it's obviously implied that when they're on their way back to LA, that this plane crash happens.
Yes.
Which makes me so angry with Boone, because if you know that is the whole background, I don't care if the plane is crashing and all that stuff. Why are you caring so much about this fucking cunt? I don't get it.
So I think that is a perfect segue into the present day, because I think Locke clearly sees this. He's seeing that like Boone is so obsessed with Shannon that it's unhealthy. There's like something going on here. And so I'm curious your thoughts, because basically what we're seeing is that like Boone and Locke are continuously going out to the hatch, but we're learning that they're not actually doing anything. They're just sitting and staring at this hatch.
Which, like, why aren't they digging around it to try to see like, is it deep down here, or we get like excavate around it? I just don't understand that. Because clearly nobody knows where they're going. No one's going to stumble upon it. And if they do, just bring them in on it. I don't know. And so Boone wants to tell Shannon, and Locke decides like, oh yeah, well, if you're really dead set on that, and he kind of sees that like this is detrimental, because it's Boone. Oh, I don't think that Locke really cares if Shannon finds out. I think that he cares more that Boone has this compelling nature to like, this compulsion to like, I need to tell Shannon everything. I need to make sure Shannon's in the know with everything. And he just doesn't need to do that. And I also now better understand Boone's like whole hero narrative that he has, which is like his whole life he felt like he was saving, this woman that he loves, who's his stepsister, and it's kind of weird that he has a crush on her and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like he just found out that all of that was not really saving somebody, and he's had all this energy and love for somebody that doesn't return it, doesn't respect it, and manipulates it. And so, now I understand the hero complex. He has something to prove to himself that he can do it for somebody who doesn't manipulate him, right?
Yep.
So Locke then knocks out, and he had been making some kind of
paste, like a
paste or something.
Paste.
Yeah, knocks him out, and with the butt of his knife, and ties him up in this really weird knot situation. And I will say, side note, he then Locke runs into Saeed. He explains what a weebeloa is, and he's like, I like learn how to tie knots. I'm like, yeah, bitch, you just tied the shit out of Boone. That clearly took.
I got 2 points here. One, Locke's clearly a rope bunny. Is totally into getting tied up.
No. I think he's the rigger.
Yeah,
I think
he's the rigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is the third. The second point is I used to be a Weeblo as well. So I was never a Cub Scout. I was never a Boy Scout. I was only a Weeblo. And then I gave up on being attempting to be a Boy Scout because A, we didn't do any cool stuff in Boy Scouts. And B, I think it ended up costing my mom money and we were super poor. And so she was like, it's not worth the money.
My brother did, I think, like 1 year of Cub Scouts and then was a Weeblo and was the odd kid out and got beat up like all the time at Weebelows. And so he was just like, he quit. And I'm like, poor Chris.
I was clearly the gay kid and none of the counselors liked me being there. Like it was just a bunch of like prissy, uppity, like men and women that were like were leading this thing and they clearly treated me different. And I think my mom picked up on that and was like, we're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah. Ours was the other way around. These were a whole bunch of poor kids who had grown up together. And this was kind of like a group activity for the community. But my brother is incredibly intelligent and never fit in with kids his age because he was just like a thought process above them, if that made sense. And so his sense of humor was really witty and smart and dry. And no kid at age 5 got that. No kid at 7, 6, whatever. And so he just got beat up. Like, I feel so bad. Who joins the Boy Scouts to get beat up by the Boy Scouts? Like, I just, you know.
Oh, that's true. A poor kid. Oh my God.
So sad.
Kids are fucking evil. I hate them.
They really are. And the parents were probably, and the family who was involved with that was a lot of wrestlers. And my town is known for having like one of the best wrestling programs in New York State. We consistently have state wrestling champs. They all get like these wonderful scholarships to go to these huge universities and wrestle. None of them go. And it's just like, yeah, they were probably like, yeah, my son beat up this other kid. Great job, kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
my son's so cool. Blah, blah, blah. I'm a himbo.
Yeah,
like,
I'm going to do some straight shit now.
Yeah, I'm going to go fuck my wife.
Yeah, seriously.
They fucked. Yeah.
So Weebelos.
yeah. So Locke ties up Boone, and let's talk about your theories on why Locke is doing this, and B, what symbolism do you see in the vision that Boone has, if there's any at all?
Okay, so I'm seeing a couple things, right?
Yeah.
Locke did something to induce a hallucination that brought about this, like, that monster thing, right? And Boone, like, quote unquote, wakes up thinking that Shannon is yelling. First, Shannon's yelling from his left, and then she's yelling from his right, and then she's yelling from his left, which was the first cue to me that this was a hallucination. Because rationally, she should be yelling from one direction if she's really in trouble.
Yeah.
Or if she's tied up like she's saying she is. So he has the motivation to get the knife that's at his feet that somehow Locke perfectly goes exactly where he wants that knife to go in order to get the motivation. He cuts himself free. He runs and he finds her tied up. And she says, like, she basically tells him that Locke tied her up. That was the second strike that I knew that this wasn't real. There was no way, that Locke could make it all the way to the beach, grab her without anybody noticing, let alone Saeed, who I think has now like really wants to keep an eye on her, and then go all the way back there and tie her up in the amount of time that, like, that just isn't feasible time-wise. And thirdly, Locke had just ran into Saeed, and like, it's obvious that it's not like he's like super sweaty or had been doing a lot to like bring a whole body and bring Shannon, or like tell her that something's wrong with Boone and like give her the incentive to come with him. Like, there was no indication that he'd been going back and forth. So I knew all of this had to be a hallucination, which now makes me think that this monster thing that we see in here is not real. Okay. That it's some kind of hallucination of the island. So it made me want to think back. Okay. What are the times that we've seen it? Has there been something like that has triggered a hallucination in people? Have they drank from somewhere? Have they brushed up against a plant? I don't really know.
Okay. I'll play with this theory.
Okay.
If we're going off that, in the first episode, when they see the monster, I
Mhm.
think they do pass back and forth some water
Mhm.
that they all drink before they see the monster.
Mhm.
And the second time we hear the monster, I think it was raining.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you could be right. Maybe
I
like
think that there's
water.
something to it. And I think that Locke has, like, instead of running away from the monster, he chooses to fight it head on. And that's when he sees into the eye of the island. So I feel like if Boone had just not run away with it with Shannon, if he had just embraced it and like looked at it, they would have seen something more. It also makes me wonder, these are hallucinations, correct? Potentially in this theory. Clearly the hallucination of Shannon is legitimate. Like, we know that that's hallucination because eventually the monster gets her and kills her, but she has the same body scrapings and such as the pilot did in the first episode, which makes me think that the pilot wasn't real, that he was a hallucination, or that he wasn't really alive. And that's why the monster gets the pilot, and that they all hallucinate the pilot and that kind of thing. And I also want to point out that I think it's Kate, or maybe it was Jack, I can't remember, but one of them in the pilot hides in like the same kind of trees that Boone and Shannon hide from the monster in. So I remember that too. So I think that this is like the island force, kind of like forcing you to face whatever like is your reason or fear for being on the island.
Okay.
And I think that I'm still not convinced that Locke is good. I think that Locke could be an other, or whatever the case is, or he just might be like, I looked in the eye of the island and he's not an other, but he knows things much better than other people do because of it. So I think he knew that this would happen to Boone, which is why he gives him the hallucinogenic and of the island. I think he's figured out what it is.
So by that logic, what do you think the purpose of Locke giving Boone this is then?
The purpose is that he asked Boone at the end when Boone comes back and he tries to like stab Locke, which, by the way, Shannon's like 10 feet away with other people. Nobody turns to look that Boone just like tried to kill Locke with a huge machete, and they're just like in a power struggle. And then like they stop, like no one's going to look at that. No one's going to hear that he goes, you killed Doc, like, come on. Like that would make me turn my head.
I'd be like, what the fuck?
So moments. But anyway, he tries to kill him and he says like, is that what, and we should say that like when he sees Locke, he's covered in blood.
Yeah.
And then he goes to stab and Locke says, but you're not covered in any blood if she died in your arms. And then he looks down, there's no blood there. And he goes, so that's what the island made you see. How did you feel when she died? And Boone says, I felt relief. And so he goes, okay, so now you know. So I think that what he was trying to tell him is that like the relief here is separating yourself from Shannon, that you don't, I keep wanting to call her Maggie because I know that's the actress's name. But separating yourself from Shannon. I don't think the key here is it will absolutely be an evil thing. Like he would have recruited Boone to the others at this point. If he's like, kill Shannon, like if that's the message, I don't think it is. I think the message is you would be able to live for yourself and have a sense of relief if you felt like you didn't have to always protect her, and if you forced her to live for herself. If you forced her to live for herself, if you didn't make her, you enable her to be entitled, and you need to stop that. You need to like focus on what is good for you and what we're trying to accomplish, and She needs to focus on whatever it is. So if she has a relationship with Saeed, that is none of your damn business.
Yeah.
Let her make the mistakes that she needs to. And you need to fight your own battles, essentially, and stop fighting hers. I think that's what it was.
No, I think that makes complete sense. And I remember like when I first watched this, for some reason I really remember this episode and not liking it. Like I remember getting very off-put that this is the direction they wanted to take Boone and Shannon's character in. I was hoping for like a bigger kind of arc, and instead we're getting this like weird incestual. They're not actually incest, but it's just a weird subplot. But after watching it this like second time and really like ruminating on it, like you said, paints Boone in a way that makes his past actions justifiable from like a hero complex side. And I think like similar to what you said, Locke is seeing this internal struggle with Boone and needs him to let go for some purpose. There is some reason Locke is making him have this vision, because the way that I see it, if he is capable of showing people this, why Boone? There's got to be a reason you're showing Boone this. He sees something in Boone that he doesn't see in others. I know it's getting late, so I want to also cover.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I want to cover one thing in this Locke conversation. There is like a side conversation with Jack and Saeed and everyone with this like compass. So there's this like point where Locke shows up out of the jungle and Saeed's there orienteering, and he's mentioning about how hard it is to make a compass. He's like, I don't understand. It's like really difficult to make any sense of these maps. And so he gives him this compass and he says, I don't need this anymore. And he just goes off into the jungle. And he's like, I don't know what that means. And then we learn later that the compass doesn't even work. It's not pointing at true north. And so Saeed says something about like, in order for a compass like this to break, there has to be a large magnetic source or something that like causes that to happen. Or this compass is broken. Why would Locke give me a broken compass? That doesn't make any sense.
And again, I think it's because Locke knows more about the island. He knows more about people's intentions and such. And so I think he does it as a clue about the magnetic thing more than anything else. Like this is going to be the thing that sets him on the path of trying to make sense of where they are, about Rousseau, about all these different kinds of things. I don't think that the compass is broken.
Okay.
I think the fact that there isn't a true north and that things don't make sense makes sense with the island. I still think they're in some kind of different realm. I don't think that they're really in like the Pacific Ocean. So if they were in the Pacific Ocean, there's so many more things that I think would make sense than do now. I really think that the reason why the compass doesn't work is because they're not in a place where the compass would read the way that they're used to it.
No, that makes complete sense.
Or like the sun doesn't set in the west. Maybe it sets in the northwest. Or it sets in the north or whatever, you know?
Well, they did point that out where Jack said the sun still goes from west to east for them. But
it goes across the horizon, but they don't know if that's west or east technically.
That's true.
In this realm, it could be that it's going north to south.
That's very true, actually. And then last thing I want to talk about with like the Locke and Boone thing, what do you think is in the hatch?
I have no idea. Maybe that is the source of the magnet thing, or maybe that's like the compass is broken, maybe that's what broke the compass. I don't know. I feel like there's some kind of power source in there.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. No, I was just curious your thoughts. So then we get this like side story of Hurley, and
that was annoying. I'm gonna be honest.
It was so weird. Like I don't understand.
I understand them trying to tie something to the pilot episode, but like I felt like it was really unnecessary. First, it's him having gastro problems, which like totally understandable. And the fix is you need to get more protein, which I'm like, yes. important. Everybody should be eating protein, especially on an island like that, because you're going to not have energy for anything else. Like that is going to be what gives you energy. It's going to be what keeps your body moving. If all I'm hearing is he needs to have something that has more fiber in it, not protein.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you're talking about regularity, I'm thinking here, like you're eating a lot of water-based fruits. You need something that has maybe some more fiber in it.
Yeah.
So Dr. Jack, you need to fact check me on that,
Hey,
but I don't know.
he's also not a nutritionalist. Okay,
I don't know, but I'm just saying, it's my doctors are the ones that tell me when I have gastro issues.
He's also not a doctor. He's a surgeon. So like he also doesn't practice general medicine.
Right.
I mean, he's like
or
guesstimating.
gastroenterology or anything.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the point, right? So sounds like you need more protein. You should eat some fish, And so he's like, first of all, like, I think he just creates that there's this feud with him and Jin. Excuse me. Like,
Yeah, it's like weird.
Jin clearly, I think, is willing to help him because he came to him and approached him. I don't think Jin is opening up and helping more people, right? It's not that he's just working. He's not just sticking with Sun. He is helping more people. I think that a lot of this is Hurley either having some kind of implicit bias, as we already know that he kind of had already, but by calling Jin and Sun like Chinese for a long time and all that kind of stuff. I think there's some implicit biases at play here. But he says, oh, because I didn't eat the sea urchin that you gave me, like you're not going to give me fish. And I'm like, that's such a weird jump to go through when you can't even speak with this person, because you're not speaking the same language. Yeah. And clearly Jin brought him fishing with him, like as a means to try to teach him. So it's like, teach a man how to fish, you feed him for life kind of thing. So Jin was like, I think trying to help him. So Hurley does all this shit. And then clearly when he steps on the sea urchin, like Jin's right there to try to help him. So I just like, I'm going to be honest. Like, yeah, I think Hurley's kind of funny every once in a while, but I just don't like him that much. Like
I think it also has to do with, I'm curious if this is the subtext they were going for, but we've already seen that like Hurley has a few microaggressions with Asians. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if this is like maybe possible racism or bias that he has against Asians. And he initially is seeing Jin as like someone aggressive and mean, obviously from the displays of aggression that Jin has shown on the island. But there is zero reason for him to think that it is pointed towards him in any way. And yeah, this was such a weird plot and they didn't go anywhere.
Right. It didn't go anywhere other than that, like now he feels better with Jin and Jin like gives him a fish that's already cleaned out after helping him. And I will say getting him like when he was pointing at his crotch to pee on his foot, that was funny.
So funny.
And like, secondly, though, for anybody out there, that it has been scientifically proven that doesn't do anything except for make it hurt more. So like, don't pee on like a jellyfish or sea urchin sting or anything like that. It's not going to help.
I also thought it was a reference to Survivor because I think at that point, that season of Survivor where the guy from Nebraska, I always forget his name, gets stung by a sea urchin and he asks the woman to pee on his foot.
Yeah.
I think that is a direct reference to that because I think that season of Survivor had aired before this and he says, oh, I saw it on television.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Well, the other thing is too, is that like Friends had an episode where they all try to pee on somebody. And I think it's on Monica gets stung by a jellyfish.
Oh, maybe.
And she needs to pee, but she can't. She's like, but I couldn't get the angle. And so Chandler tries and he can't. And then Joey tries and he can. And they're all just like, it's like a whole situation where the three of them are like, that's exactly the episode. But like, this has been a trope that I feel like comes up in like so many different shows, which is like, oh, I've been stung, pee on me kind of thing. And I'm like, you know what? If only we'd watched this with last week's episode, there could have been more pissed play.
Yeah, all that pissed shampoo.
Piss. But the other storyline that I do want to discuss a little bit is the Kate and Sun
Yeah.
storyline where we find out that Kate stumbled upon Sun making kind of a garden in a grove with different seeds, which I think, thank you. Like Sun just like is the only one fucking thinking here, which is,
Yeah.
I think people need to assume that they're not going to get fucking saved immediately or maybe ever, and that they need to like create an like sustainable living source. So Sun comes up with like basically a garden that she's planting. We see Kate getting seeds in the beginning, and Jack gives her more at the end. But Kate learns from a very subtle moment where Kate's kind of just talking to Sun, not thinking that Sun can understand her. But then Sun kind of smiles at something that she says that I don't think like anybody would have got unless you speak the language. And so Kate catches onto it. And then she basically finds out that Sun can speak English, and Sun makes it clear, like, nobody can know. Michael's the only person who knows, and my husband definitely can't know. Have you ever lied in order for the man that you love or something like that?
Yeah.
And you see this like really reflective moment in Kate's eyes, and then nothing is said afterwards about whether or not that's going to be kept a secret. So very interesting.
I also want to point out one big glaring error that I have with this episode.
Yes.
And I feel like the character motivations from last episode did not carry over into this one.
Correct. I agree.
So Jack and Kate, like the way that their relationship ended last episode was very tumultuous, and like Jack has no reason to trust Kate. And in this episode, he's a goo goo gaga for her.
I have to say, you can tell when different writers are writing Jack's character.
For sure.
Because you either get Jack is intense and angry, or Jack is goo goo gaga, and there is no in between. And it drives me a little crazy. I'm not going to lie. I understand that shows need different writers or they take leads on different things and such, but I need them to get on the same page. This is not the first time this has happened in Lost. It seems like it's like every episode, nothing mattered about what happened before. Sometimes with how they're writing some people.
That's same with Sun. So Sun fully overhears that Kate is this like dangerous criminal, and is just like chilling, gardening with her the next episode, as if like what she heard had no motivation whatsoever. Now, I don't know what that says about Sun's character, but I feel like, and here's my tea. So last episode was a joint effort by two different writers. The same goes for this one. Carlton Cuse, who ends up going on to becoming a showrunner and like one of the lead writers for Lost, wrote this episode. And Damon Lindelof, who wrote the last episode, ends up becoming a showrunner and a lead writer. I'm wondering if they had not been on the same page yet, because this was the first season.
Gotcha.
Going forward, there's quite a bit more consistency between what happens in one episode phasing over into another. But this is written by Carlton Cuse and Javier Grillo Marcho. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. I apologize. Okay. But one big thing that I want to point out with this episode is it's called Hearts and Minds. And basically one big thing to point out is Hearts and Minds. I'm going to read verbatim what it says online.
Okay.
This term stems from the strategy used by the U.S. military to curry popular favor / approval of the Vietnamese people during the Vietnam War. It has become a popular term today, denoting the way a society can use its military and public relations skills to conquer a country, not necessarily through brute force, but through winning through the hearts and minds of the people. Taken into context with this episode, Shannon conquered Boone not through the use of force, but through the use of hearts and minds. She continues the relationship as the conqueror, and Boone fell for her ruses.
And I also feel like Locke did it to Boone as well. I also feel like to a certain extent, Sun has done it to Kate.
Yeah.
And I feel like Jin did it to Hurley.
Yeah. It's like a common theme. And that's why I'll say, and I've said it before, but going forward, the title of episodes is insanely important to the show. And that is absolutely the case for future seasons.
Yeah.
Like there's like huge plot details that'll be said in like episode titles. Like it's
not like Desperate Housewives, which was just which Sondheim title or lyric are we going to make that somewhat fit the plot of it? You know, like clearly there's symbolism in the title here.
exactly. Yeah, that's basically all I got.
Yeah, and that's all I've got too. I would say so. Clearly, the LVP, like I said, is Shannon. I think MVP is hard. I'm going to say, you know what?
Ooh, I have mine. I'll tell. I'm curious what yours is.
I'm going to say, purely because I hate Shannon so much, MVP is Locke.
Wait, who was your LVP again? You said Shannon, right?
LVP is Shannon.
Yeah.
I think MVP is Locke because he shook Boone enough to get this idea. But I was actually very tempted to make Jin the MVP because of
Yeah.
I think that how he was there for Hurley shows a lot of character growth. I think, and I also considered Sun for MVP, but because they aren't a part of the main plot, I have a hard time with this show unless there's something really significant in a lower plot. I have a hard time giving an MVP or LVP to someone who isn't a part of it.
That makes sense.
So I have to go with Locke because even though it was unconventional and I don't necessarily agree with it, you know, hitting someone over the head and making them hallucinate and all that kind of stuff, I do think that what he taught Boone, I think is going to help Boone. And also I hate Shannon. So anybody who is fiercely against Shannon getting entitlement, I'm here for.
So I want to give you the title of the next episode and you tell me who you think it's about.
Okay.
The title of the episode is called Special.
I think I don't know if they would do a Sawyer one right after this in order to tie it together with that scene. I think they're going to wait like an episode or two.
Okay.
So I don't want to say it's Sawyer. They had a weird moment where I felt like I could figure out who the next one was, and now I can't remember what it was.
I know exactly. I was going to mention it.
Was it Michael?
Yes. So the next episode is a Michael and Walt episode.
Okay.
And there was this moment where Hurley, and this is like the only real, like, I guess, plot thing that happens with that Hurley storyline is besides the Jin and Hurley's relationship getting better, is that Hurley talks with Michael and Michael's looking at a box. And he's like, oh, you
That's what it was. That's what it was. And I thought, what a weird thing to just put in here. Maybe the next episode is a Michael-centric episode that will get more explanation about the box. That's what it was. Yep. Thank you.
So next episode is called Special. It is about Michael and Walt. And in my opinion, this is an episode that starts the third arc of season 1.
Okay.
I would say there's about 3 arcs within season 1. This is we just saw kind of like the conclusion of the last one where the hatch gets discovered, Claire gets kidnapped, all this stuff. This is going to be the start of the third and final arc. Even though we're still kind of in the halfway point, the third arc is much longer. So I'm excited for next episode. I think it's a great one in my opinion. And I can't wait to see your theories after next episode.
Excellent. I think we're going to have a good week next week because Deep Throat is also a good episode.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Nanny.
Oh my gosh, this is fun talking about these episodes. I hope you all listening had a great time watching these as well. If you did, make sure to let us know via our social handles at 8BitDylan if it's anything Lost related or
Augusta Wind 11 if it's anything the Nanny related. Do we have any comments that you want to discuss, or did we throw all of them into the last episode because we were doing a twofer?
So we did throw them all into our last episode. I think also what I want to start doing, and I'm curious what people's thoughts are, is most of our comments that we're reading are on our YouTube channel. I kind of want to make a public facing Hot Mess Moments email account that
Mhm.
people can email us comments that they want, because sometimes not everyone has a YouTube account. And also I want to be able to have more long form questions or opinions that someone might have. So we might work on that.
And you know what? Have we checked if there's any comments on Apple Podcasts or anything lately?
I did recently. I didn't see any.
Okay.
But make sure to leave us a written review if you haven't already.
I accidentally just clicked on.
I heard that. The car crash. Yeah.
Whoops.
The car crash. That is our episode.
As per usual.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to episode 13 of Hearts and Minds and a Family, or the Family. Is it the? Yeah, the Family.
The Family.
Plumbing.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week with episode 15 of The Nanny, which is Deep Throat. And episode 14 of Lost, which is Special. And until then, stay awesome, stay beautiful, you little people.
Bye.